Thanks for coming. It's a big week, and I'll answer your questions for you.
Second row right, Ben.
Urban, when you guys recruited Jabril Peppers, is the player he's turned into kind of the player you envisioned he'd be at the college level?
Well, he was a very good player in high school, and yeah, we kind of expected that.
Did you see him with the versatility to move around and play different positions on both sides of the ball?
I saw him as a very good returner. So long ago. I just remember he's a great player.
Front row middle, Dave.
Urban, your offensive line still seems to be struggling in pass protection. Michigan has a very good defensive front. Just what are you seeing out of the offensive line as far as pass pro?
I don't know if we struggled much last week. Last 3 weeks, 4 weeks have been pretty good. The pass protection wasn't Nebraska, Maryland, Northwestern, and last week I think they're very good defensive line, but it's not.
Times when JT was had to get out of trouble, when protection would break down, he had to get out of there quite a bit this past week.
Yeah, if the question is that anybody that answers a question, is there a concern? I'll help you. Yes. That's all I do is concern. So we can save a lot of time probably today. Is there a concern with us protecting our quarterback? Yes. Are they getting better? And they've been pretty good. Yes. So.
Front row right, Austin.
Urban, when you and Tim are having those conversations during a game, even like last weekend where JT is carrying it 20 plus times, are you fighting that to look for something else to get away from it, or do you just want so badly to keep it in his hands?
Yeah, it's kind of a one of those things. We don't normally do it like that. I mean, there's been times. A lot of it's flow of the game. You certainly don't go into the game and say, let's do this. But you have to create plus numbers somehow because, it's tough. And you see that every team that plays in weather, it's just tough.
Are you guys aware of the number as you go through a game, or does that factor into your thoughts at all?
A little bit, but win the game.
Second row left, Lori.
Coach, how much does it factor into your thoughts this week that Michigan has injured 5 different quarterbacks this year? Does it affect your play calling, the reps you give in practice, the speech you have with the officials before the game? Does it affect anything?
I didn't know that. No. I mean, they're a good defense.
Front row left, Mitch.
Beating a couple teams 62-3, it looked as if, this team was peaking at just when you needed to peak. Do you still feel like it's peaking?
We're getting ready for a good game this week. I think we played okay. We ran for 200-some yards and 2 rushers over 100 yards and had trouble throwing the ball. So, yeah, they're fine.
Second row left, Ari.
Urban, the recruiting is the lifeblood of this program. You've said it 100 times. To be able to inherently get talented players from the beginning. I was wondering, is talent a predetermined thing, or can a team become more talented based on experience and coaching through a few years? Or is talent just you're as talented as you are from the beginning?
Deep question there. So is talent, can you develop talent?
Player become more talented through coaching and experience?
Oh, hell
or
yeah.
is it
Yeah, that's called development. Yeah, sure. That's something that I think, of all the things that I'm very proud of, 9 coaches and a support staff that's over the top is, because everybody has a good recruiting class. Not everybody, and then some go on and get guys drafted and great performances, and that's because of what goes on behind the scenes with Coach Marotti, and so absolutely.
Last year you guys came into the Michigan game, I think generally viewed as even or on even footing, and I think that as the game played on, that your recruiting and the players that you had on your roster, there was a talent gap. From what you've seen on Michigan on film this year, has they been able to close that gap? Granted, you guys lost some guys to the draft through one recruiting class, or do you feel like their talent has become a little bit more?
Oh, no, I've always, the one thing you can always count on is that team having really, really good players. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen them. I've been involved watching from afar, and then also they're always great players. The difference is there's 47 seniors or something, some crazy number of experience. These guys have been here for a while, and they're grown men that have been playing for a while. So very, very good team, very talented. Has the gap closed? I don't know if I've ever considered a gap. I always look at these 2 teams, and if there is, it doesn't matter.
Far right over here, Clay.
What was your earliest recollection of this game, this rivalry?
In the 70s, Bo Woody, my mother, for some reason, I still, to this day, don't know why, grabbed me and said, we have to go run an errand, and what the hell are we talking about? Don't leave that game. In Ashtabula, Ohio, outdoor mall, walking down, and over the loudspeakers, I just kept stopping, listening to the game in the 70s, the 10-year war. So I remember that.
Was there ever any question as to who you would side with?
None.
Front row right, Bill.
This is the first time, this is the biggest game in the rivalry in 10 years. Michigan finally is more or less on equal footing with you guys. How different is the feel for this game this year, given all that's at stake?
I've never looked, I mean, every time we played them, last year there was a lot at stake. Our first year undefeated season, second year was a chance to go play for the national title. We didn't follow through in the championship game. Third year, we got to the national, right? Or fourth year? Third year. Yeah, it's always big.
Can I ask one question about Pat Elflein? I know you've talked about how important he is. Just how crucial is he on and off the field for you?
I can't give an adjective to overemphasize his value to our program. And I've done this 29 years. He's as good a player, person, leader as I've ever been around. And we have senior tackle on Thursday. That'll be a tough one.
Second row middle, Jeremy.
Urban, I know you're not really a social media follower yourself, but there may not be a guy on your roster that's more polarizing among the Ohio State fan base than JT Barrett. There's a segment of the fan base that really thinks he's kind of average, and another segment that thinks he's one of the best quarterbacks in Ohio State history. What is your take on after 4 years of JT, your legacy with quarterbacks? How do you stack him up, and do you think he's appreciated enough, considering this could be his final game at Ohio Stadium?
I think we're in a very evaluation-friendly profession, and he's in a very evaluation-friendly position. You look at wins, number one, and then you look at statistical touchdown to interception, passing efficiency, and that easily makes him one of the greatest quarterbacks probably to play the game. I'm not just, does he throw the best curl route or whatever? I don't know that, but I don't care. He's one-loss record, TD to interception ratio, and passing efficiency are the things that I always look at. But number one is, without question, the one loss, do you win games? Because that's a tough position.
You stack him up with guys like Joshua Harris and Tim. How do you?
Here we go.
How do you?
He's a big game this week, man. And I love JT Barrett.
Third row right, Tim.
Urban, we talked about your corners, Marshawn, Garyon, Denzel, how well they played. Michigan has a pair of pretty good ones too. Just how difficult do you think throwing the football is going to be in this game?
We got to beat man coverage. There's no secrets what they play, and they're very good players.
Front row right, Tim. May.
Yeah, Urban, 1986, you were a graduate assistant here at Ohio State, and the Monday of the game, Jim Harbaugh guaranteed Michigan was going to win that game. I know you had to be aware of it because I think y'all put signs up and things like that. What do you remember about that, and what do you remember about the motivating factor maybe it brought for you guys for the game?
I actually remember it very well. I remember we won the game. We started the season bad, lost 2 games, Alabama and Washington. Got smoked at Washington. And went on a nice run, I think 9 straight or something like that. And they lost to Minnesota. And then we had the Vince Workman had a touchdown, and we missed a field goal right at the end and went to the Cotton Bowl and won that. So I remember it very well.
But do you remember the reaction in the building when he made that comment?
Not really. I remember it was typical that if someone says that, but.
You've got a triumvirate right now with JT, Mike Weber over 1,000 yards now, Curtis Samuel, the only player in the nation with 600 plus rushing and receiving. What do you feel about that trio going into this game? Does it give you a balance?
Yeah, we have to utilize all the weapons, and because what you said is true. We also have some other receivers playing pretty good. Tight ends are getting more involved. So there are statistically the offense is pretty good. I think we're number 1 in the Big Ten, if I remember right. I haven't checked it this week. But you're going to need it against a defense like this. You'll need every one of them playing their best.
Can I ask one thing? Saturday, you know, we talked about the wind before the game and after the game. 25 miles an hour, sometimes gusts to 40 or more. Do you just throw that game away from the standpoint of the passing game? I mean, just from what y'all had going the previous 2 games?
Throw it away?
Yeah, I mean, just from I think JT was 10 out of 22 or whatever it was. Is that just a throwaway?
Yeah, it's thrown away the minute the game. We don't spend much time on that. I mean, I know other people do. We were giving all focus to this one. So, do we sit and talk about it like we do in here now? Of course not. We've got a lot of work to do.
4th row right, Nick.
The vast majority of your production this year have been guys that still have eligibility left. But how do you, all these seniors have been with you for most of your time here. How do you ultimately remember this class?
Well, it's unfortunately a very small class because a bunch of those cats left on us last year, who I love dearly. But, you know, I'm thinking off the top of my head, you got a punter who, don't talk about him much, but I love him dearly, and he's a guy that you talk about a leap of faith, a big leap, like across continents, and is a wonderful guy. We got a kicker that I love to death, Tyler Durbin, that, you know, I'm surprised I didn't know his name, but he's fantastic. And Pat Elflein, one of the best football players I've ever been around. Dontre Wilson has been an injured-prone career, but a wonderful guy that is all in with the team. Corey Smith, nicknamed the JC guy, was instrumental in our national championship year. He's also dealt with an injury as a junior, and then this year also with a broken hand. And that's about it. What's that?
Burger Feta.
Oh my gosh, Burger Feta. Yeah, it's people joke around, or I joke around. If I have any more children, I'm going to name him Burger Feta. That's how much I love those guys. 2 of the most selfless guys I've ever been around, and I'm so proud to be able to put them on scholarship, and they'll be Buckeyes the rest of their life.
You mentioned that Michigan has 40-some kids that went through senior day the other day. Have you ever been part of a team that has had this small of a senior class?
I think the smallest. Someone told me that, yeah. At least contributors, yeah.
4th row left, Brad.
Gary Conley used to be a commit to the team up north, and you were able to pry him away. What did you see in him back then, and how much of an impact has he made on the team?
Ooh, he's another one that's a brilliant player for us, and I do remember that very well. Mike Vrabel recruits that area, and it was an early commit, and we thought highly of him, maybe not to the point where, and I remember when we started, he played his tail off his senior year, and I went watching him actually practice basketball, and that's when I was like, this is crazy athlete, and then you get to meet him and his family, and he's major impact, not just a player, but he's a great leader as well.
2nd row left, Doug, or 1st row left, Doug.
Urban, we know how good your run game was the last couple of years with Carlos and Braxton and Ezekiel. The way the run game has developed this year, where you stand now, you had the 2 guys over 100 with Michigan State. What have you thought of the whole thing with JT and Mike and Curtis working in there?
Pretty good. I think someone told me statistically we're about where we were with Zeke. Only Zeke would carry the load more than I think. Someone told me that. But I guess I'm never, if you're looking at me and say, boy, I love where we're at, I don't ever love where we're at until February and see how it went. So, but I'm pleased. I think once again, we'll need all 3 weapons to, when you face an elite defense like this, you need everything you got.
And when you look earlier in the year, Mike and Curtis shared more of the carries. Like the last half of the year, Curtis obviously has been used more in the passing game, less in the run game. Was that a conscious decision?
No.
It just evolved that way? Is it Mike developing?
No, it's also defenses are, yeah, they're forcing something. I don't want to get too detailed, but it's not by design.
Okay. And then when you were away for a year from coaching, the idea of rivalry week and a rivalry game, all the things that you love about being a football coach, being with the guys, that kind of stuff. This kind of week, going against your rival, the tradition, the history, all that stuff, like, I know you do this for a lot of reasons, but how much do you like rivalries? And you've had such success every stop you've been at.
I appreciate rivalries. Probably more than most, because I just have such a, I don't know, it's just the way I've always been, and it's when I was at Notre Dame, the USC Notre Dame rivalry, to the Florida Georgia, Florida Tennessee, Florida State, to BYU Utah, to Bowling Green Toledo. I just I think that came from Coach Hayes and Bo Schembechler. I just think that was the classiest. Both programs had a tremendous respect for each other. Both coaches did, and they played so damn hard. And so I just remember that. And so I have great appreciation for rivalries.
Far right here, Bill Livingston.
Urban, you said a few years ago that you ran Alex Smith, I think, 25 or 26 times in the snow in the rivalry game. How much does the weather narrow the choices? Because it seems like JT carries a lot of this.
Yeah, it's our style. You know, I can't speak to other people. That, you know, it depends who that guy is. I do remember we won 3-0 in a blizzard at Provo, and he ran the ball a bunch. And you know, those kind of things, ball security is a premium. You trust whoever touches that ball. You got to be very cautious. And it's the way at times do equate numbers.
Far right over here, Todd. Last couple questions, folks.
Urban, Darrell Royal once told me that at the end of the regular season, the media informed him that he was voted the national champions. He wasn't even aware of it. So college football is totally different this day and age with the emphasis on the national championship. I'm just curious, would you rather be in the Big Ten championship game or make it to the 14 playoff as an at-large team knowing it gave you a week off to rest?
I hope that our 2 tackles' ankles are completely healed for Tuesday's practice, and we're going to have our scout team get their tip sheets sometime today so they can take them home. We're looking, and we have to have a great Tuesday practice.
And far left over there, last 2 questions. Far left over there, Chuck.
When you and your mother ran that unfortunate errand, did you and she use that word then, or did you already not use that word?
Wow. I can lie to you and say I never used it, but I don't remember.
And
probably make a better story if I said I never used it.
Let's go with that.
No.
And our last question, guest over there, gentlemen.
Urban, back when you were here, well, before you were here, Woody would never, of course, refer to University of Michigan as University of Michigan. It was always the school up north. It spoke to a kind of primitive warfare. Has this evolved, though, socially at all, where we can be a little more fraternal, you and Jim, the mention of the rival, et cetera? I mean, is there a more sophisticated...
That's a great question. Here's what my memory of that rivalry, and this is where I think it's the greatest rivalry in all of sport. You're darn right it was tough, but I know very well that their 2 coaches never respected each other more, and that's the head coach of our rival, Bo Schembechler. And because I talked to him about it. I had great conversations with Coach Schembechler. And Woody Hayes, unfortunately, never had those great I met him a few times. He was here in '86, and we lost him. And I look back, and I wish I would have been able to sit down and talk to him about it. But I think that's the standard to what rivalries are all about. And yes, that's what I remember. They go so frickin' hard against it, but there is a mutual respect. I didn't say like, but there's a mutual respect. And I learned it from those 2 of the greatest coaches of all time. They handled themselves with incredible class, toughness, demanded of their players, and you got to see that every time those 2 teams played. So that's my memory, and that's how we go about our business here.
Coach, thank you very much.